Hey, my name is Shelly, and this is my channel, Shell Space. So today we're going to talk about auto-buy authors. Everybody has them, whether that be one author that they buy from, or 20, or 10. So today I'm going to be talking about 7 of my auto-buy authors, plus a couple of honorable mentions. They're honorable mentions because I have only read one of their books, but from that one book, I know that I think I really like their writing styles, tone, and story. So I will be mentioning those at the end. So without further to say, let's get to it. So you're probably going to see pockets appearing in my bookshelves as I pull out the books. So just bear with me. Okay, so the first auto-buy author is like probably no surprise to anybody. It's probably one of many people's auto-buy authors. I'm just going to say it, get it out of the way, and that would be Brandon Sanderson. Right? My journey with Brandon Sanderson has only been a recent journey. I think I started maybe about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I'm just going to put down Yumi right now because Yumi is very, although it's beautiful, she's very heavy. When I did my research, they obviously recommend either Mistborn or Stormlight. I don't know why I'm blanking on Stormlight, or Stormlight. And I looked at the page count of Stormlight, specifically Way of Kings, and I'm like, whoa, that's a big book. I'm not prepared to like jump into that. So I picked up Mistborn, and I really didn't like it. I have it. It's right here. I have the ugly copy. I have this. So I own it still, and I'm keeping it because I do like some aspects of it, but other aspects just didn't jive with me. Basically, I loved the world. I thought the world was so imaginative, so creative, but I did not really click with the characters, and I really, really, really hated the romance in it. I thought it was bad. I'm sorry. Stay, please don't leave. Okay, so a couple months passed, and I'm like, you know what? I should give this guy Brandon Sanderson a second chance. So I picked up The Way of King. And then I remember specifically when I bought into it, it was, I think at the first chapter, it was the first chapter from Kaladin's perspective. And they're in this field, and he's describing like the environment. And he talked about how the grass would go down when the wheel of the cart would roll over it to protect itself. And I'm like, that is amazing. I love that. And just because of that one little detail, I was like hooked. I'm like, this world is awesome. So I became a massive Stormlight fan. I took a pause after Oathbringer, and then I continued on with like the rest of the Cosmere. So I read Warbreaker, and then I did finish the Mistborn like first era, and I read Elantris, which I didn't really love, and the novellas, and I loved like all of like his standalones, but Stormlight for me is like my favorite Brandon. And of course, you know, the year Brandon. I am mostly caught up with majority of Brandon's work. I still am working on the Skyward series, and I have The Lost Metal and The Sunlit Man to read. I just needed a break because I read so much Brandon Sanderson this year that I just like, I don't want to get Brandon Sanderson fatigue. So I decided to take a break. So I will continue on with the rest of the Cosmere in time for Stormlight 5, hopefully in 2024. So yes, Brandon Sanderson, auto-buy author. Another auto-buy author is Laini Taylor. I read Daughter of Smoke and Bones years and years and years ago, and I like kind of DNF'd the series, but I remembered this book so vividly. There was something about it that I just was so different from all the other YA books that were coming out at the time. The worlds she builds are so unique and whimsical that they're really hard to forget. I finished this book and I didn't continue on with the series. And then Strange the Dreamer came out, and I finished that duology like within a weekend. I was just like, oh my God, this duology is just my favorite. So obviously I went back to reread the Daughter of Smoke and Bone, and I still adore this book. The rest of the trilogy is okay, but it's like this first book and then the Strange the Dreamer duology have made Laini Taylor like an auto-buy author. The next auto-buy author is a recent addition to my list, I guess, and that would be Rob J. Hayes. I grabbed Never Die, I think early in the spring, and I'm like, yeah, I really like it. It's pretty good. It didn't grip me as much as I was really hoping it would, but then I picked up Along the Razor's Edge. And then I DNF'd it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just not feeling it. And then like a month or two passed by and I was still thinking about that Along the Razor's Edge book. So I picked it up and I reread it and I absolutely loved it. And I just blew through the entire War of Tornal series. And because of that, Rob J. Hayes is now on my auto-buy author list. That's really hard to say, auto-buy author. And I've contributed to his Kickstarter campaign with the new series that's coming out that looks absolutely amazing. So there will be 3 new books for me to read from Rob J. Hayes in March. And I think they're all released together, which is awesome. I really recommend it. It's a shorter series. And if you like grim, dark, kind of with a satirical character and some heavy-hitting mental health reps, I highly recommend this series because it is really good. And honestly, Rob J. Hayes is one of the few male authors can actually write female characters so freaking well. Like, honestly, just so well. Because of that, he will always be an auto-buy author for me. The next auto-buy author is Adrian Tchaikovsky, who wrote Children of Time and among other series and standalones. He is just a writing machine. Although Children of Time is like one of my all-time favorite books, not so much the series, just this first book. I like to pretend the other 2 books didn't happen, but this first book is like one of my favorite books of all time. But I didn't start my journey with Adrian Tchaikovsky with this one. I actually started with The Tiger and the Wolf. I think this is this book called the Echoes of the Fall series. This is a trilogy, and I started with this trilogy, and I would not highly recommend this series because the way that it's written is very different. It's very unique. It is an interesting series about shape-shifting, and that's what kind of drew me to it because I love the whole shape-shifting trope. Plus like ancient civilizations. I love that stuff. But yeah, the writing style, if you try it and you like it, then you will like the rest of the series. But if you try it and you are not jiving with the writing style, it's not going to change. It's just going to stay the same. I like this series and I loved the way that it ended. And because of that, I was like, I need to read more of this author because he's extremely brilliant. So I moved on to Children of Time. And because of this Children of Time book, he is ever cemented into my like auto-buy list. Like I will read anything that Adrian Tchaikovsky writes. I won't necessarily like it because some of the stuff I don't really like, but some of the stuff I really, really love. I find that his standalones are like probably better in my opinion because sometimes he does not stick the landing for series. In my opinion, obviously this whole series, the Children of Time series, I think won a Hugo Award or something for like the best sci-fi series or something. So obviously take my opinion with a grain of salt. But Adrian Tchaikovsky just keeps writing and writing and writing and pumping out, I swear to God, like 2 books a year. So because of that, I mean, I still have tons to catch up on. I just finished the final Architecture trilogy, and although it wasn't my favorite, I still really enjoyed it. And I do plan to continue on with more of his series like Shadow of the Apt, which is his first like series. And I think that's like a military fantasy series. I talked about it in my 24 series to start in 24 video. And then I want to read a lot of his standalones because he has a lot of awesome sci-fi standalones. So this author is an auto-buy author. I just keep buying all of his works. He writes them faster than I can read them. So yeah, this list will forever grow and I will continue to buy his books. So the next auto-buy author on my list is Michael J. Sullivan. He wrote the Legends of the First Empire series and the Raya Revolution, and then the other one I can't remember of because I didn't read it yet. And this is like an entire world he's created. Like it's got that like Lord of the Rings, Tolkien kind of world where you have like the elves, the humans, the dwarves, but he kind of takes it and gives it a little bit of a modern twist. And there's lots of humor and the stories are kind of smaller in scope, but then there's also this grand story that's ongoing through all these series. This is like the prequel series, so it takes place like thousands of years before Raya Revolution. I can never say it. Raya Revolution. So it takes place thousands of years before Raya Revolution, which is more people's favorites, but this series, in my opinion, I like this series more so than the other one. But regardless, I love them all. I still am catching up on Rhaenyra, and I still need to start his newest trilogy. But I keep buying his books, and so that already puts him onto the auto-buy list. So yes, if you're looking for like a shorter, like classic fantasy with good characters and lots of humor and lots of heart, definitely check out Michael J. Sullivan's writing. The next auto-buy author is S.R. Chakraborty, who is more known for the David Bad trilogy, starting with City of Brass. I read this a couple years ago, and I still think about this story to this day. Like, it is the perfect blend of a lot of different tropes that I like. Is it perfect? No, but I still really enjoyed her writing. She has recently come out with a new series, and I totally am blanking on the name. Haven't not read that yet, but I do own the book, so I will be reading it in 2024. So because of that, she is now an auto-buy author, because although I haven't read her books, I still buy them. So that definitely counts. But yes, I definitely love this. This is like a Middle Eastern inspired world with jinn and this desert setting, and there's like dark magic and questionable characters and a romance that's very toxic. It's got so much going on for it. So yes, so S.R. Chakraborty is an auto-buy author. The next auto-buy author has been on my list for like 25 years, I believe, and that is Elizabeth Haydon, and she wrote the Symphony of Ages series, starting with Rhapsody. I read Rhapsody years and years ago, and to this day, it's still one of my favorite books. I just love this book so much. Is it perfect? No, far from it, but there's just something about it that I absolutely love. There's so much to the world that's unique and interesting, and the character dynamic in this is just so good. Like, you can actually tell that these characters like each other, that they love each other, that they consider each other like found family. Oh yeah, if you like found family, there's a huge one in this one. So because of that, Rhapsody, the main character, does get on my nerves quite a lot. But she's got some mental health issues that you can kind of forgive her for that. And the romance is not my favorite. I have like second lead syndrome where I'm like, the other guy is so much better. But you know, maybe. I haven't finished the series, so I don't know how it ends, so I don't know what's going to happen. But yes, you have time travel in this. You have dragons. You have like different races that are not like your typical like elves, dwarves. I mean, they are inspired by, but they're different. They're called different things. You have people that can like scent blood and track people, and you have ancient beings. It's got a lot of interesting things, and honestly, this is such an underrated series. More people need to read it, especially if you like epic fantasy with more of a romance and a feminine feel to it, if that makes sense. So yeah, she is an auto-buy author for sure. The next auto-buy author is quite new to my list as well, and that is Django Wexler. I read the Burning Blade and Silver Eye trilogy this summer and absolutely loved it. It was like the perfect blend of sci, fantasy, obviously inspired by Star Wars, but I'm okay with that. There was so much about the series that I loved. Did I love it all? No, not really. There were some characters that I'm just like, can we just write them off and bring in new characters? But then there's some other characters that I was just like, oh, I loved them. Like, there's so much about the series. It was a lot of fun. It's a fun read. I'll put a little disclaimer here. I have not read the rest of Django Wexler's books. I plan to change that and read a lot of his books now, but from now on I'm going to be buying everything new that Django Wexler publishes because I just love his work. So Django Wexler is now on my auto-buy list. Now, if you've been on my channel for a while, the next author will not be a surprise to you, and that is Mark Lawerence. Most recently, his book is The Book That Went Burn, which is one of my favorite books of 2023. I love this book so much, and yeah, I just can't stop talking about it. I'm sorry. Before this, I read Red Sister by him, and I did not really love it, mainly because it had that assassin school trope, which I'm not too keen on, but it was really well written, and I really did like it. And then I continued on with his Ice trilogy with like the girl from the... I'll grab it. The Girl in the Stars, which I like, honestly, this is kind of a cover buy when I bought it, because I'm just like, I need to know what this is. Looks like a girl from like ancient times. I have to know. So I read this and I really, really liked it. And then I continued on with the Book of the Burn, and I really, really loved that. So because of this, everything that Mark Lawerence now publishes, I'm going to buy because I love it so much. So those are the concrete auto-buy authors. The next 3 are honorable mentions. Honorable mentions because I've only read one book of theirs that I just absolutely loved, and I will continue on to buy the rest of the series. I still do need, for some of them, I still do need to read the series, and it's already out, but that's another topic. That's another conversation. So let's just get down to the books and the authors. So the first is Megan E. O'Keefe, which is the author of The Blighted Stars. I read The Blighted Stars, I think in the summertime, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so great. It was a perfect blend of sci fantasy. There was a really great trope in here that I absolutely adore, and it's basically like the idea of uploading your mind into some other body and like living like that, or like being immortal because you're constantly creating new bodies to upload your mind into it. And I loved that idea. In this book, humans are off in the galaxy and they're basically run by giant corporations, like kind of like royalty or like kingdoms, but they're giant corporations. In this book, one of the main characters is the son of one of these giant corporations, and he is on the ship that gets stranded on this island. Planet. This ship that gets stranded on a planet, along with another character who is like a spy or like a secret agent who is in somebody else's body that she shouldn't be in. There's a lot of stuff I loved about this book, but I loved the setting. I loved like the whole almost like horror aspect that you have of it. And just, you know, like the enemies to lovers and the romance between this budding is like, you actually understand why they like each other, even though they really shouldn't, but you understand why, and I love it. But I have to say, I have not continued on with the series, even though I own the sequel, which is, I can't see it from here. I think I'm kind of waiting because I know that the third one comes out in the spring of 2024, so I will be waiting for that. Because of this, I will now buy anything that Megan E. O'Keefe writes. The next honorable mention is Ken Liu. I read The Grace of Kings this year, and I will be honest, I didn't love The Grace of Kings. I was kind of bored by a majority of it, but I did really appreciate his writing and the idea and the world and the potential of the characters. I thought that all of that was so good. It is a dense book, and this book is more written in like format of a bunch of short stories. But the reason why he's now an auto-buy author is because I do genuinely enjoy his writing. I think it's really, really good. Oh, actually, I technically did read another book. I read The Three-Body Problem, which was translated by Ken Liu, which is a Cixin Liu, but it's translated by Ken Liu. So I did kind of read his work, although he's translating it. I don't know if that counts. I like his writing enough to buy anything that he creates. So Ken Liu is now an auto-buy author. And the last one is The Art of Prophecy by Wesley Chow. I had such a fun time with this book, and when I first finished it, I only gave it 4 stars, but upon further thought, I think I'm going to probably hit it up to like 4.5 to 5 stars. I had such a blast with this book. It was just a lot of fun, and I think I'm missing that a lot in my fantasies because I've been reading a lot of like serious, long, slow fantasies, which are okay, but if you read them back to back to back, it gets a little tiring. So reading something like this, which was a really fun time, honestly, I just love it. The reason why he is an auto-buy author is because he is so funny. His sense of humor just clicks with me, so that's the only way I can explain it. Everything I've seen like in interviews, like him doing interviews, he just seems like a really leveled out, funny, nice guy, and I really do love his work. So he has now become an auto-buy author. So I will be continuing on with the rest of the series. I believe the third series is, or the third book in the series is coming out in 2024, but there is no confirmation date as of yet. But I saw in an interview that he said it is coming out in 2024. So I will be buying that and reading it. Okay, so that's my list. Right down below, let me know what your auto-buy authors are, or if we share any of the same auto-buy authors. I'd love to know. You can find me on Instagram and Goodreads. I'm more active on Goodreads regarding like updating what I'm currently reading, my current thoughts. Please like and subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.